Hey y'all, hope you're doing good today. So I picked up this neat little book in a shop a few weeks ago, and it's about the philosopher Nietzsche, and it's called Nietzsche, An Approach, right? And I think I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know, I looked it up. But I remember, and this is all I remember about this man, but I remember his name from my one class in college on philosophy. And I just remember the impression that I took away from that class on him was I really liked what tiny bit of his philosophy I was exposed to in that class. And so, you know, many years later, it's kind of cool to realize that sometimes if a person crosses your path and not for very long, it's kind of like, don't you ever wonder, like, what are they going to take away from that meeting with you, or that very short time with you? And sometimes it's just an impression or something that that may be actually very impactful to that person, or they may recall later in life, and that might actually influence either consciously or subconsciously, you know, a particular route they take or decision they make, simply because of the impression that you made in their mind, which is really interesting, right? So again, I don't remember anything about his philosophy other than I thought he's on to something, you know, there's something of interest here. So I wanted to share a little bit out of this book. And so it's called Nietzsche, and again, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, An Approach. And this is by, I don't know how to pronounce this man's name, but you can see it here. Janko, if you're listening, and then Lavrin. And what was really neat to me was right inside the front cover was this image, and I had to Google this because I had never heard of this, but apparently it used to be common for people to put a book plate, what they call a book plate, which is indicated by over here where it says ex libris, or I don't know how to pronounce that, I guess it's in Latin, which means book plate, and then whoever owns the book, right, this would be like their own personal stamp or image or label that includes an image in their name. And I thought that was cool. And isn't this one just really neat, with the light shining down, and it just seems very important. It gives you you know, the vibes of something with regards to planets and light, and, you know, something powerful. Obviously this person's reacting to the light, and so I just thought that was really cool. And so if I find in further research that this is not an original image, which my very limited research has indicated that book plates are personally designed, but if I do find out that this is actually a famous image of some sort, like a it looks like a what do you call this, like the carving, the wood plates, I forget what they're called, but I will drop that information in the description. But I just had to share that with you all. I thought that was cool. And then the part that you know, I like to flip through and just find treasures. When I don't have time to sit down with a book and read it cover to cover, I like to flip through and find treasures. So here's what I want to share with you all. So there's a section in the book called The Artifice of Self-Preservation. And so let me just share with you on page 30, if you have the book. It says, readers of Nietzsche are familiar with the passages in which the invalid philosopher, quite in the spirit of Kant, I think it's K-A-N-T, right, who is also a philosopher, as far as I recall, propounds the futility of all endeavors to catch the real essence of things. Okay, so I thought this is really getting into, before I read further, this is really getting into a lot of what I talk about on my channel, which is, you know, you can really strive and work at trying to get that understanding, the wisdom, and then to take it down deeper and just marinate in it and get the understanding. and finally just get to a place where you're like throwing your hands up and you're like, I don't know anything, you know, which is kind of good and kind of bad. You know, it's a good place of humility, which is healthy to a degree, but ultimately you do want to come away with some understanding of some newly acquired wisdom too. So it's definitely a place to seek balance. But in general, I think we're talking about the difference in subjective reality versus objective reality, and the fact that I don't think any of us can really escape fully subjective reality, because it's literally impossible to see everything from all angles at once. It's just, when you're in this human form, you know, you're viewing everything from your own mind, your own experiences, your own conditioning, biases, all that. And I don't think that we can truly escape that, right? And I think that's what is being discussed here. So that's my first impression, okay? I'd love to hear what you think about it. But again, it says, readers of Nietzsche are familiar with the passages in which the invalid philosopher, and then a little side note, quite in the spirit of Kant, proposes the futility of all endeavors to catch the real essence of things, since we find in them only what we ourselves have put into them. Or, as he contends, it is the habits of our senses that have wrapped us up in the tissue of living sensations, which in their turn crouch at the base of all judgments and knowledge. There are no means of exit or escape to the real world. We are like spiders in our webs, and whatever we may catch in them, it will only be something that our web is capable of catching. Yes, exactly what we've talked about. It's like if you're operating with a certain set of beliefs. Remember the story of the natives that literally did not see the boat that was coming ashore right in front of them, because they had no concept of the boat, and so it was invisible to them. So incredible, right? That's what this is talking about here, per my perception. On this premise alone, to say nothing of pressing personal reasons, Nietzsche would have felt inclined to abandon any such futile quest in favor of something more certain and nearer at hand. If the search for transcendental truth leads nowhere, then our duty is to dedicate our efforts to what is tangible and concrete, to life itself, to the defense and the intensification of life. And I thought, that's cool. That's a cool little place to stop here. This was just a very long paragraph on page 30, and I just thought it was just packed full of things that just, you know, a mindset that resonates with me. In the end, I think what it's saying here, to dedicate ourselves to what is tangible and concrete, to life itself. I love how it goes further and it expounds, I think is what you say, expounds on this to detail it out by saying to the defense and intensification of life. And I just want to point this out, because when when your world's been just turned upside down, when you've had the rug pulled out from under you, however you want to say it, when your mind has been messed with, when you have been deceived and conned and gaslit and all this other stuff, and you're coming out of that, you know, you're trying to make sense of things. So I just want to invite you to ground yourself intentionally on a regular basis, because if you're not careful, you can kind of just really get up there in your mind and your thoughts and kind of lose touch with reality. And it's just super important that we don't do that. And so, again, I think the deep thinkers in this realm are going to argue over what reality really is. But, and it's fun, you know, to explore different concepts. But in general, focusing on the defense and the intensification of life, that's really my intention on this channel, because I feel like if you've been through the ringer, you've been through a hard time, a transformative time in your life, it's sort of like, this is my experience, before you're able to really dedicate yourself and have the desire to want to be grounded in reality again, it's kind of like you need to have what you've been through validated. It's kind of like, I'm reminded of a very early developmental stage in babies, infants. And that is, they need, per my research, right? They need to have their existence validated for them to feel, for their psyche to become kind of grounded and rooted. It's sort of like, how do they know they even exist if there's not someone in front of them reacting to them? You see what I'm saying? And that is a development, again, for infants, right? Again, I'm recalling that study of the mothers that were told to just be totally non-reactive, sort of robotic, and just have a non-expressive face toward their infants. And they studied, what happened. And that's the opposite of what should happen, right? Like when a baby's crying, the mother should respond like, oh my gosh, are you okay? The baby sees this. They're acknowledged, they're validated, their experience, their life experience is validated. And this is actually a process for the psyche that gets them grounded in reality, right? And so same thing if they're happy, if the mother responds by smiling and laughing and playing with them, it's a reciprocal type of thing, right? So there's a relationship here. So relationship is crucial in the foundational building of the human psyche. And so when your world has been turned upside down, it's sort of like you're starting over as far as certain parts of building a healthy mind back up to a place of health. And so to me, in so doing, it's very healing to have someone, but this is crucial, and this is hard. You've got to be real careful who you trust, but it's crucial to have someone kind of lend you a helping hand to, in that same manner, to kind of see you, to, it's not that you need, that you're coming at this from a conscious place of need. You want to be validated, kind of like a person seeking attention. It's not like that. It's really hot, y'all. Let me turn my ear up. Whew. I'm not talking about that like a place of just wanting attention, like an egoic type of thing. I mean, it kind of is redeveloping this healthy ego, but it's not, I'm not talking about like a, I want all the attention, kind of constantly validate type mentality. It's just a place of supporting a psyche that's been through it and has been gaslit and has sort of lost touch with reality because it's been swimming in a sea of deceit for sometimes many years. And so I just wanted to point that out, that it's, if nothing else, assessing where you are and having your head in the clouds and researching and kind of just being in your mind versus being engaged in reality is maybe a good indicator of where you are on your healing path. You know what I mean? Ultimately, I think that that's what I'm trying to do here, is to share my process in hopes that it's relatable to you, it resonates with you, and just by sharing this experience that we are able to just walk this path together and help one another to get to a good place, right? And so defending life, and what did it say, intensifying life, I think, those are good things. Those are really good things. That means that you're literally seizing the day, right? You're literally making the most of your life, and you're defending it too, and that's crucial, especially now that you know that there are people who are operating in the darkness, in that spirit, right? The Bible says that the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy, right? Or steal, kill, and destroy, something like that. So that spirit, unfortunately, truly does, as we know now, operates in people in this world. And so defending life is something we have to we have to keep in mind, unfortunately, but it doesn't need to be necessarily our focus. It's kind of like it needs to be there, but our focus should be, in my opinion, in intensifying life, right? The intensification, just knowing that it's temporary and we need to make the most of it. And so the last thing I want to say in relation to that is this. I've come to a place where I feel like you can nitpick any topic in relation to human behavior, wisdom, knowledge, philosophy, and all this. You can nitpick any of it from any direction. You can position it in a positive way or in a negative way, forever and ever and ever and ever. So here we come to what the beginning of this message was talking about, in my opinion, which is, if you reach a place where you're like, gosh, this just seems like futility. You know what I mean? And I don't think it is, but I think that I just want to point out that we do need to find balance. And here's why. Here's why. If you think about it, being told how we should be is placing us in a position of not living authentically. At the base of it all, we need to just be ourselves. And I feel like as long as you are an honest person, you're an honest and truthful person, you have some consideration for other people, you know what I mean? You have a little bit of self-awareness in that regard, that you consider how your interactions with others affect others because you care, right? Those are two really, really big things. And the third thing would be you have a desire to want to learn and grow. In other words, you don't think you know it all. You're willing to consider new concepts, because you want to be on this path of growth. There's always going to be things you don't know, in other words, that's pretty much it. Other than that, recognizing that you may have been conditioned and you may not even be fully aware of it yet. You may be, or you may not be. But some of us have been conditioned to feel like there's a certain level of expectations that we need to meet to please another person. And this may be because of having a parent that was unstable, emotionally unstable, and that may have actually conditioned you to just really be very calm and peaceful around this parent, when in reality maybe you wanted to be goofy and have a good time and more expressive or whatever, but that may have very irritated this mentally ill parent or whatever. Same thing if it was like an alcoholic parent or something like that. So there's certain conditioning, right? And there's also this problem with groups, because groups have sort of like what they call groupthink or a hive mind, and this also kind of like spawns expectations that are placed upon you. So just be cognizant of expectations. I think sometimes we want to do good. We want to be the best person we can be, genuinely, and we truly believe we're being authentic and real. But if we care about a person, we want everything to be good. And so just catch any kind of underlying expectations that may be driving you from your subconscious mind to not truly be fully authentic. Because again, anybody can take any quality or trait within you and spin it and say it's good or bad in general. This is a generalized statement. I'm sure there's exceptions, but in general, anybody can pick you apart too. And so be true to you. There was a video I saw recently, and I can't remember who it was. If I can find it, I'll drop it in the description, but they were essentially talking about, it might have been Sam Vaknin, but I'm not real sure. But they were talking about, maybe it was Tim Fletcher, I think. Maybe, I don't know. I watch a lot of different videos here and there. I listen to them too when I'm out and about. But they were talking about, you know, the problem with a lot of people, I think this was related to narcissism, but again, I don't like labels. But some people can't ever feel like they are loved because they are trying to be loved. And because they're trying to be loved, just like if you are a child and you're trying to get a response from your parent, like the infants, right, that is a good response because maybe they have their own issues, right? You know, sometimes as a child you can unintentionally and even unconsciously learn to modify your behavior to appease this parent and keep them from having emotional outbursts or from being cruel or to, you know, whatever it is. And so what happens is, you know, I guess an adult, is that if this isn't worked through and worked out of a person so that that person's truly free, then they can kind of have those same mechanics going inside, like, and they're trying to, you know, be what this other person wants them to be, again, meeting expectations. And then even if they are, if this other person is responding in a good and peaceful and supportive manner, they can still feel like they're not really appreciated or seen or loved because, and the reason is, and I think that the person's unconscious of this, it's because they're not really fully being their totally uncensored, authentic self. You see what I'm saying? So, I just want to encourage you to be you, to just be you, and to understand that perfection is a lie. It's a lie. It doesn't exist. And you might even say if it does, then it would be imperfection. Imperfection is the human design. And because it's the human design, it's perfect. Because God made it that way. We're designed to need, in my opinion, from a spiritual perspective, we're designed to be our best self when we are in a relationship with Him and fully accepting and living in the mindset and belief in our heart that we are loved, and it's not conditional. It's not conditional, and that we can be our imperfect selves. And I feel like, you know, as far as other people, friends, or, you know, a partner, it's just best to be you. And, you know, each one of us has our own unique personality, and it may change depending on your circumstances. It's not that you change, but how you feel will change how you are, you know, in any given moment, in any certain environment. But if a person is getting to know you, they're going to see this in you and see that, you know, you are, there's a lot to you, and it's all good and beautiful, even if it's not perfect. You don't want that anyway, right? A lot of people who come across as perfect are in fact hiding certain aspects of themselves, which is why they seem very robotic and even boring, when in reality they're just very controlled because they have things to hide. You know what I mean? And so just be you, and just know that defending real life and really living is a good thing. And you know, essentially defending actual physical life. and the life of your psyche, you know, keeping your mind and your heart healthy and all of it, right? But also intensifying life. When you're a person who is someone like, you know, people who live a double life or whatever, people that live a lot of their life controlled and behind a mask, to me, that's not really even living. That's pretending to live. And so I think intensification of life, focusing on that, like what the book references, is just truly doing what you need to do to root out, you know, or to pull out those old roots of conditioning, so that you are as conscious as possible of who you are and what you're about, and what you believe, so that you can experience this life fully and truly, really, actually live. And when you can find other people who are trying and doing the same thing that you are, then that's where it's really beautiful, because then you can have life intensified in that manner too, because now it's shared. So I hope this has been just thought-provoking, really, and I hope that you enjoyed the message. I hope it got the wheels turning, most of all, and I just thank you so much for coming along to hear it. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.